بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أما بعد. The 11th point, the author says, Al-amalu bil-mahfuz, implementing and acting upon which you've memorized. Actualizing which you have memorized. قال أبو عبد الرحمن السلمي حدثنا الذين كانوا يقرؤوننا القرآن كعثمان بن عفان وعبد الله بن مسعود وغيرهما أنهم كانوا إذا تعلموا من النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم 10 آيات لم يتجاوزوها حتى يتعلموا ما فيها من العلم والعمل قالوا فتعلمنا القرآن والعلم والعمل جميعا. Author quotes an author here of Abu Abdurrahman as-Sulami saying, the people who used to teach us the Quran, they used to make tahfidh of the Quran, such as Uthman ibn Affan, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, like these companions, he said that whenever they learnt from the Prophet ﷺ 10 ayat, they wouldn't go past those 10 ayat until they understood them, until they implemented them. Abu Abdurrahman al-Sulami says, thus we learnt knowledge, we learned Quran, and we learned action collectively, all together. ألا ترون أن بعضنا يحفظ دعاء دخول الخلاء والخروج منه ودعاء دخول المسجد والخروج منه ولكن لو سألته عن دعاء لبس الثوب أو دعاء دخول المنزل أو دعاء الخروج من المنزل فإنه في الغالب لا يحفظها وإن حفظها متداخلة يسقط بعض الجمل ويكرر بعضها والسبب هو عدم العمل بها لكن هذا لو عود نفسه العمل بها لزادت رسوخا في ذهني وأوصي نفسي وإياك بقراءة كتاب الخطيب البغدادي اقتضاء العلم العمل فقد جمع فيه آثارا ذهبية وبين حرص السلف عليهم رحمة الله على تزكية علمهم بعملهم. The author says, can't you see that there are some of us who know the supplications for entering the place of relieving oneself, entering the restroom, the bathroom, quote unquote, leaving it, entering the masjid, leaving the masjid. But if you ask them about the dua for putting on a garment, getting dressed, entering your home, leaving your home, in most cases, many of them, or many of us, we don't know it. And if they do know the supplication and the dua, then it's mixed up, jumbled up, or it's not complete, it's not perfectly memorized. And the reason behind this is not acting upon it, not implementing it, not doing it. He says, but if you constantly say the supplication in, out, eating, sleeping, this, that, so on and so forth, he says, then it becomes something that you don't forget, something that you won't forget. You'll, bidnillahi ta'ala, leave a permanent impression on your mind. A brand. He says here, so therefore, the advice that I give myself and I give to you is to read the book of Khatib al-Baghdadi rahimahullah called اقتضاء العلم العمل. The requirement of knowledge is action. And as a note, this book, I believe, has been translated in English. It's been at least a good 10 years since it's been translated. Inshallah, hopefully the translation is okay. But I did see the book in English some years back. He says in this book, Al-Khatib, rahimahullah, he mentions golden narrations. Athar dhahabiyya, golden narrations regarding how the Salaf as-Salih worked very hard and how they were very diligent, very hard working and making the zakat on the knowledge and making sure that the knowledge was pure, it was mubarak, by acting upon it, by implementing it. So that's the end of the 11th point. We've mentioned this before when people ask us, what should I do? I'm in America. Or even overseas. What do I do to become a student of knowledge? How do I start? I'm waiting for the Medina acceptance list. I'm waiting for such and such to happen. I'm saving money and I'm going to go to Malaysia, I'm going to go to Egypt, so on and so forth. And we give them the advice, first and foremost, purify your intentions. Secondly, learn Arabic. Thirdly, memorize as much Quran as possible. Fourthly, memorize as much adhkar, supplications and da'awat that you can possibly make. And from the wisdoms behind this, as we've said before and we'll say again, is that it increases and strengthens your relationship with your Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. And who is supposed to have a better relationship with Allah than the people of knowledge? إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاءِ. Allah says there's only those who have knowledge of Him who truly fear Him. Now, and we all know what Allah Azza wa Jalla says in the paradise, that they will have gardens of Aden, underneath which rivers flow, dwelling therein forever. Radiyallahu, Allah says that He will be pleased with them. وَرَضُوا عَنْهُ, and they are pleased with Him. ذَلِكَ لِمَنْ خَشِيَ رَبَّهُ. That is for those who have khashya of their Lord. So that's the first fa'idah of the adhkar. Secondly, is the adhkar is a training ground for memory. And it's also a training ground for the concept of once you implement it, once you say it every day, you do it every day, then repetition prevents nisyan. Repetition prevents forgetfulness. Naam. Khayran inshaAllah ta'ala. So therefore, implementing and acting upon what you have memorized. Now, this section here, as if it's a hybrid. It's not 100% clear, but as if it's a hybrid of a few concepts. First being pious and righteous. You learn about the haram, avoid the haram. You learn about the recommended acts, perform them. You learn about the mandatory acts, make sure you do them. And that's the way of solidifying what you've memorized and what you've learned. And from another aspect, as if the author is saying, talking about just repetition. Al-amalu bil-mahfuz, just repeating it. And that's the simplicity of the adhkar. So it's not 100% clear on this side or that side, as if it's a mixture of both. Now, and as we always say, it has to be a tangible way and a spiritual way. Everything for you being a student of knowledge is not just 100% spiritual, as some people try to make it seem. How to memorize Sahih Bukhari, just be pious and make dua. Alright, implement the hadith that you learn. It's not that simple. It takes physical practice as well. It takes technical skill as well. And at the same time, you memorizing Sahih Bukhari is not just based off of the physical practice or the tangible reasons, but it's also spirituality. Allah giving it to you, making it easy, open up your heart, giving you barakah. So it's a mixture. So we're not to get confused with either of the two sides. Naam. Khairan inshallah. The 12th point the author says, ذكر بعض أهل العلم أو بعض المآكل والمشارب المعينة على الحفظ. And before we go further to the 12th point, the book of Al-Khatib Al-Baghdadi, اقتضاء الصراط اقتضاء العلم العمل. For those who don't know Arabic, as we said, I believe it's in English. Maybe we can research it, see if we can find the link or the PDF for it. And if not, we have the concept of the book being in Arabic, well known and widespread circulation. Shaykh al-Albani rahimahullah ta'ala has a tahqiq of the book. It's a small pocket-sized book, very beneficial book. However, just like many of the books of Al-Khatib al-Baghdadi and many of the books of many of the ulama of the past, mashhuna bil-di'af wal-manakir. Many of these books are laced and full with weak narrations. Some narrations even fabricated, extremely weak, mawdu'a, munkara, saqit. And one may ask or say, well, how is this? I thought it was haram to mention a da'if hadith. I thought it was haram to say a hadith da'if. I thought a hadith da'if was totally useless. It's fabricated, so on and so forth. Those details we've explained before in our series of Fadl al-Ilm al-Salafi ala Ilm al-Khalaf of Ibn Rajab rahimahullah, which is also a very extremely important book for the student of knowledge that we mentioned and we explained completely, alhamdulillah, here on the channel. Please check it out if you haven't already. And we mentioned some details with regards to that and other videos as well, but perhaps we'll make a specific video in which we'll talk about it يعني بالتفاصيل العلمية الدقيقة, with the precise scientific principles and details of when and when you can and cannot use a da'if hadith, if it's extremely weak, and also the different schools, the new school and the old school. Some ulama who came along in the 20th century and said that hadith da'if is of no use, and this is the authentic version of the book. This has been authenticated by Sheikh such and such and such and such, and the other version is useless. If you take that approach, we mentioned some of the problems that you're going to come across, whether it's Ibn Rajab's books, Ibn Qayyim's books, Ibn Taymiyyah's books, let alone someone like Khatib Baghdadi. Khairan, inshallah. Point 12. He says, and the reason why we said that is for no one to be shocked, to go into shock when he opens up the book of Khatib and he finds in that book what he finds, in Arabic or in English. And we've seen many students become shocked and have doubts about hadith and about the sunnah because of these reasons. Point 12. He says there are some of the people of knowledge who mention different foods and different drinks that a person can benefit from with regards to memory, power. فقال بعضهم إن هذا مجرب وعلى كل حال كلما تحرى الإنسان السنة في أكله فجعل ثلثا لطعامه وثلثا لشرابه وثلثا لنفسه واللازم من المآكل ما يراه أنفع لعقله وبدنه كان في ذلك جمعا بين أمور منها التعبد والتقرب لله تعالى بهذا الأمر والاستنان بسنة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان ذلك أنفع لعقله وبدنه لأن الشرع لا يأتي إلا بكل خير للعقل والبدن. The author says, here in the footnotes, كما كان الشافعي رحمه الله يأخذ اللبان للحفظ ومن المطعومات التي تساعد الحفظ وتنشط الذاكرة العسل وشرب ماء زمزم والحبة السوداء والتمر. The author mentions Shafi'i rahimahullah, certain things he would drink, methanol, certain types of milk or yogurt, creams, things like this. And then the author says different foods that help a person memorize and get strong ability to retain information. He says honey and also zamzam water, black seed, and dates. Naam. Some of the ulama mention different things. And then we also have the secular sciences as well. And we have two different types of foods and drinks. We have foods and drinks which are for memory specifically. And then we have food and drink which is for intelligence. And there is a connection between the two, as we said before, and there's also a difference between the two. A subtle difference. Some people are very smart, but they don't memorize much. Some people memorize a lot, but they're not too smart. And there's some people who have the best of both worlds. So therefore, when I was in Yemen, a friend of mine, a brother, then at the time, he took me around to many different places, and he introduced me to al-alka. Alka, they call it a gum that they used to chew on. And he said that this gum was very good for one's memory. Also, when I was in Medina, my first year of Medina, one of my teachers said that every morning that you wake up, make sure to get a nice tall glass of room temperature water and put a healthy spoon of the finest honey, top grade A honey, and mix it and stir well and drink it every morning. He says it will help your stomach. It will also help your memory. Bidnai subhanahu wa ta'ala. He mentioned this. Naam. Also from that which is well known to the Muslims and well known to the Arabs is the concept of that which comes from other than the lands of the Arabs. China, green tea, Japan, and other parts of East Asia, which is well known for green tea, okay, or other parts of Afghanistan, Kenya, Nam, okay, Djibouti, other places which produce this type of tea as well. Many of the people in the Prophet's Masjid would advise us to drink green tea. Said it helps your memory out. gives you energy. Yusaffil bal, they would say, as if it cleanses the mind, it makes your mind clear. They would say this. Naam. So that which is well known to the Muslims and the non-Muslims, certain things. Certain people, they mention that which increases one's memory or strength of mind, intelligence. Certain oils that come from different fish, such as salmon, is a well-known, a brain food they call it. And fish in general, seafood in general. Okay. Some people, they mention, for example, say coffee beans. Some people say curry powder. It's well known to increase your intelligence. Okay, this you'll find different studies, secular studies, all right, mentioning these things which increase one's intelligence. Naam. And the different foods that are known among the Arabs and among the Muslims as well. Some of the ulama say that you should avoid bitter and sour things, whereas it hurts your memory, etc. What the author mentioned, he said that this is proven. The proof that it's valid is that it's proven. He says no matter what the case, listen carefully to the author's speech. He says no matter what the case is, he says when a person sticks to the sunnah, he leaves a third of his belly for food, a third for a drink, and a third for air. And he sticks to the drinks and the foods that are beneficial for his mind and his body. Then bid'nillahi ta'ala, he kills two birds with one stone. First and foremost is the ta'abbud, taqarrub, getting closer to Allah, worshiping Allah by following the sunnah. And secondly, he says here, ta'abbud taqarrub ila Allah ta'ala bihadhan wal istinan. It's not that clear here. First he mentions, he says what? It's to worship Allah by getting close to Him with these things. And then the second is taking the sunnah of the Prophet. Is taking the sunnah of the Prophet other than getting close to Allah? Isn't that the same thing? Don't you get close to Allah through the sunnah? So that's not that clear. Whatever the case is, the author says this is best for one's mind and one's body. And that's because the Sharia only tells a person to do that which is good and that which is beneficial. A golden principle here, the Sharia only instructs the slaves of Allah to eat and to drink and to perform the things that are good for their body and for their mind, their bodies and their minds. Allah ya'lamu man khalaq wa huwa al-latif al-khabir. Allah says the one who created, doesn't he know best? Of course. So what Allah legislates is going to be best for the body and the mind and the soul. What's important is this is mukhtasar, this is summarized. Okay, other books bid'nillahi ta'ala which are in greater detail, these different foods and drinks will have to be mentioned. And perhaps we'll make a class or a list on this, inshallah azza wa jal. What's important is don't think that if you drink a cup of honey or honey water or dates or black seed, you're going to become Imam al-Bukhari overnight, as we've seen many brothers do. It doesn't mean that, but it means with the necessary efforts, with the hard work, with the punishment that you make on yourself, by reading and studying and spending hours, okay, going over and over again. When you eat these foods and drink these drinks, it will give you, bid'nillahi ta'ala, certain foods, certain drinks will give you extra 5% or extra 10%. Or it'll turn 10 hours of studying into 15 hours, mathalan. Or give you more energy than the average person, mathalan. I don't need 8 hours of sleep. I only need 5 hours, one may say. That's all I need to sleep at night is 5 hours and I'm good. All right? Because of this tea that I had, or these dates that I ate, or this black seed powder or oil or wawa, etc. Nah? Tayyib. So this is a way of looking at it, is that it's not going to just give it to you, but it's going to enhance and increase what you're already working on. All right. You talk about bodybuilding, which is a major pastime today, a phenomenon today. People have been doing it for a long time, but many people are in the gym, and everybody wants to be big, huge, bulky muscles and tight shirts. Okay, many brothers, unfortunately, even Muslims overseas in America, is well known. All right, so you have some masjids you go into, and they have a gym in the masjid in the basement. That's fine, alhamdulillah. There's nothing wrong with that. Physical recreation, working out, in Allah, Qawiyyun Aziz. Allah is most powerful, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Ibn Qayyim mentions he loves these strong slaves. There's nothing wrong with that. But the concept of why are you lifting weights What's the purpose of lifting weights? And are you lifting weights strong with iron or calisthenics, push-ups, pull-ups, nam? And also what you drink, what you eat. This milkshake and this big, huge jar or can of powder. And when you stop eating it, you become skinny as a twig. And the moment you eat it and take it, then you become like a balloon. And are you cocky? Are you arrogant? Are you humble? Do you wear tight clothes? And this goes on. The whole concept, the culture of the gym. If you got it, then flaunt it. That's the aqidah of the gym. If you got it, then flaunt it. Okay, and the same applies to women as well, unfortunately, whether it's imitating men. وَلَعْنَ الْمُتَشَبِّهَاتِ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ بِالرِّجَالِ. The Messenger of Allah cursed women who imitate men who want to be muscly and muscle-bound. We're not talking about being in shape, quote-unquote, or being fit or toned, but muscle-bound women. Okay? Let alone just the women that just, they want to work out to show off their breasts and their behind and their legs in front of men or in front of other women. It's well-known culture, all right, in the West, and is also spread to the East. But the point that we want to benefit from of the culture of working out, bodybuilding, is that many people, they see this bodybuilding star and they say, oh, he just takes steroids. That's easy and that's simple. Big deal. Oh, he's juicing. And it's not that simple. The steroids, or if a person isn't taking a steroid, but just a muscle enhancement or a nutritional supplement, that's only a small piece of the hours and hours of running, jumping, lifting, pulling, pressing, squatting. He's punishing himself, crying, sweating in the gym. And then he takes the milkshake. Then his lunch is 4 pieces of chicken breast with no grease, no fat. His protein, this and that. He works out. He actually suffers in the gym. And the food or the diet or the steroid is an enhancement. But it doesn't mean you can just sit on your sofa flicking a remote control, being a couch potato, you can take steroids and you're going to blow it. It doesn't work like that. And many people, they think that. People who want to be bodybuilders, people who aren't bodybuilders but may envy them, and they say, oh, he's juicing. It's not that simple. And the same applies to memory. So these foods don't just make you Imam Bukhari. They don't turn you Imam Ahmed overnight. You have to live a lifestyle. It's like herbs. You have to take herbs. You have to eat healthy, sleep. It's a lifestyle. And the same applies. You have to memorize. You have to suffer. You have to read the book straight. Read one hadith 100 times. Go over it 50 times. For an hour on just one hadith, repeating it. Naam? Then bidnillah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the date, with the black seed, with the green tea, with the this and that, then comes that extra push, that glide. Everybody understand this? But actually, you have a sharp knife. You cut something, but you have to move the knife. You have to actually apply the pressure when you're cutting something in the kitchen. No matter how sharp the knife is, you can't just go through it. You actually have to apply it as well. If it's thick and dense, whatever you're cutting. So don't become bewildered. Don't think that it's just you eat something, Bismillah, my memory is going to drop from the sama. It doesn't work like that. And the same is applicable to other fields and other sciences, such as working in the gym and bodybuilding. The things that you eat and you drink, that's only a small portion of the workout habits that you must have. Everybody understand this? Khairan, inshallah ta'ala. And once more, the author, he goes back to the formlessness that we mentioned, the formlessness of there is no one set rule. Whatever's good for you, whatever helps you, whatever gives you that extra push, then bidnillah ta'ala, that's what you should use as long as it is permissible. Khairan, inshallah ta'ala. The 13th and final point of the chapter, كيف تحفظ, how to memorize, the author says, ما يتعلق بقراءة نماذج من سير الحفاظ. He says, last but not least, is always reading the biographies of the great memorizers of Islam. Reading their biographies, their life stories, the annals of the Huffaz, the chronicles of the Hadith masters. Reading about their lives, listening, watching the documentaries about their lives and how strong they were. كتب التراجم مطولة. It says the books of Tarajim, this genre of book or books He says there are many and they are mutawwala, they're extensive, exhaustive, long and drawn out. لكن هناك كتب معاصرة أو معاصرة جمع فيها مؤلفوها نماذج من قوة الحفظ عند بعض أهل العلم. He says here, he says هناك كتب معاصرة, there are new books, modern books, in which the authors mention examples of the strength of the memory of these great ulama of the past. أو عند بعض الحفاظ وحقيقة إن الإنسان إذا قرأها يقف متعجبا من تلك الحافظة الراسخة العظيمة الواسعة. ثم إذا تأمل قال إنهم فعلوا أسبابا بعد توفيق الله تعالى ولو أن الإنسان دعا ربه فعل الأسباب فربما يؤتيه الله كما أتاهم وذلك وما ذلك على الله بعزيز. He says when you read these books, no doubt you become utterly amazed. It takes your breath, it stuns you how strong their memory was, how quick, how much hadith, how many names they all had locked down. As Imam al-Bukhari said, maybe a hadith that I heard in Baghdad or in Sham, I wrote it down in Yemen, I wrote it down in Hijaz. One hadith in one country, I didn't record it until I got to another country. What is going on? What is going on? Thousands of hadith names, asanid, in one's mind. Muta'ajiban, a person is just totally like, subhanallah. As al-Dhahabi rahimahullah said about Ad-Daraqutni rahimahullah, that he wrote, he says, وَإِذَا طَالَعْتَ كِتَابُ الْإِلَلِ تَنْدَهِشْ وَيَطُولُ تَعَجُّبُكَ أو كما قال. He says, when you read his book, Al-Ilal, he says, تَنْدَهِشْ, you lose your mind. وَيَطُولُ تَعَجُّبُكَ, and your amazement does not cease. Imam Ad-Daraqutni wrote Kitab al-Ilal, they said, from his memory. It's like, this is a lie, this can't be true, but it is true. And there are other stories of the Huffaz that are true. And Allah Azza wa Jal, He selected them and He chose them to preserve the dhikr. So therefore, He says, and when a person stops and he thinks, he realizes that after Allah gave them the success, first and foremost was the tawfiq of Allah. There had to be tangible things that they did to get this memory. And he said, or the author says, if you make dua to Allah first and foremost, and then you work hard and you try hard, then bi'idhnillah, Allah will give you what He gave them. Perhaps Allah will bless you what He had blessed them with. He says, and it isn't something which is difficult for Allah to do. Before we move forward in the book and conclude the chapter, to be realistic, there's certain things in which a person, only Allah knows, but in general, being realistic and objective, is certain things that a person just is not going to get in 2017. Period. That classic era, that era of the Huffaz is just not going to happen. Because it was the chosen era, the golden era, or because Allah selected certain men and women for this task, or because of how we live with cell phones, advertisements, with the sins that we make. All right? The concept of how women dressed back then, how women dress now. Whether men walking around with short shorts and muscle shirts on, like the sins, the ma'asi, the ghad al-basar, the musical tones, the notes, the cartoons, the foods we eat, sugar, GMO, and all these different things. Now our lifestyles, air conditioning, as we explained in detail, running water, all the different things that we have that prevent us from even wanting to think that we can get to the level of memory of those ulama. However, it doesn't mean that there's not going to be no memory. It doesn't mean that there isn't any level that you can get to. It doesn't mean that you can't reach a level that is amazing of 2017's standards. Now, the author says, وهناك كتب أو كتيب وقع في يدي أخيرا الشيخ عبد القيوم الصحيباني من طلاب العلم جمع فيه نماذج لطيفة تؤثر في قارئها عن قوة الحفظ وعن العجب في سرعة الحفظ فلو أنه قرئ وقرأه الجميع لاستفادوا وأفادوا وهمم أهل العلم عظيمة وعزائمهم عجيبة ومن باب ترويه أذكر لكم لطيفة عن قوة الهمة في ضبط الحفظ وعن عظيم عظيمة. The author Hayden says there's a small book, a treatise that was that I just came across by Sheikh Abdul Qayyum as-Suhaybani. He says, min tulab al-ilm, from the students of knowledge, in which he mentioned many different interesting facts, many different interesting statistics about strange and astonishing stories about memory and people memorizing. He says, and if people read this book, no doubt they'll be inspired and they'll be affected. Khairan inshallah. This book, the author of the book, and it's very interesting, you notice here, the author, he says two things which seem to be very contrast or contradictory. He says, the Sheikh, he says, Abdul Qayyum al-Suhaybani is a Sheikh. He then says, min tulab al-ilm, from the students of knowledge. So is the Sheikh a student of knowledge, or is he a Sheikh, a scholar, quote unquote, as they translate it? Sometimes the words are different. We say this is a talib al-ilm and this is a Sheikh, alim. And sometimes the words are synonymous, or not synonymous, but they're not, there's no tanakhud. A scholar, a master scholar, is still a student of knowledge. He's a student of an art. He studies, he learns, he benefits. And no matter how much knowledge he gets, there's someone who knows more than him. وَفَوْقَ كُلِّ ذِي عِلْمٍ عَلِيمٍ. Above every person of knowledge is someone who's knowledgeable. نَرْفَعُ دَرَجَاتِ مَنْ نَشَاءُ. Allah says we raise in levels whom we will. And above every alim, the ilm is someone who is alim. So the point is that a person being a student of knowledge, or a person being a scholar, is it a contradiction between the two? Is it like water and oil? Hasanun sahih. فَإِن جُمِعَ فَلَا تُرَدَّدِ فِي. Is there a contradiction between Hasan and Sahih? Alright? And the people's obsession with the term sheikh and scholar, and for the layman person, or a student of knowledge, or someone that doesn't know what he's supposed to know, to determine and classify who is a scholar and who isn't a scholar. Who's a student of knowledge and who isn't a student of knowledge. Who's a da'i, who isn't. He's a sheikh and he's an allama. He's an imam and he's an alim and he's a da'iyah. He's a student of knowledge and he's a da'i. He's not a student of knowledge, just an imam of masjid. Who are you? To break down and classify people. But what are you? Okay, Fulan's not a scholar. What are you? Fulan's not a student of knowledge. But what are you? What makes you? So that's very dangerous. And the people have begun to fall in all types of extremism with these terms, with these titles. Also, the people, just the jealousy, the envy. A person is called a sheikh, he's from America. Oh no, he's not a sheikh. He's just da'iyah. It's talib ilm. You can't call him sheikh. Okay? Only Allah knows the different personal experiences I could give you and stories with regards to me as a person. Why they call him mufti? He's not mufti. His name is Muhammad ibn Munir. Don't say mufti. This and that. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Why are you so concerned? And as we said before, obsessed. What does it bother you so much? Because it's not right. And it's the deen of Allah. So how many other things of Allah's deen are violated on a daily basis? And you do not sweat. Your eyes don't become red. Your veins on your necks, they don't move. You don't become at the least bothered and worried about a million things of Allah's deen that are violated on a daily basis. But my name, my nickname, my title, my status, my position, what I am, so on and so forth, that rattles you. Wallahi innahu la'ajab. That is amazing. That is amazing. You cut on the news, your phone, your household, your block, your apartment building, your own life. Nothing makes you upset and angry of Allah's deen being violated and things that aren't right. But if another person is praised and given something that's above their level, that's from your jama'ah and your firqa and your shirmidah, then there's no problem. And that's unfortunate. So we have to be mindful and we have to be very, very careful of this worship of personalities and these name calling and name stripping. And we don't want to go further than that. What's important is Abdul Qayyum Suhaybani is a doctor, he's a PhD. And alhamdulillah, he was one of my professors in the College of Hadith, which I actually did graduate from. Khilafan, other than what some people may say, walillahi alhamd, I actually did graduate وَلِلَّهِ الْحَمْدِ, not just by barely getting by either. وَلِلَّهِ الْحَمْدِ. Okay? The ignorance of those who utter statements of ignorance, whoever they are, a scholar or a student of knowledge. The haqq is the haqq. Alright? And ghafla is ghafla. Heedlessness is heedlessness. Whoever makes it. Whether a scholar is heedless and he doesn't know what he's talking about and what he's saying, he's talking, as we say, out the side of his neck. بِغَيْرِ ilm, without no knowledge. Or whether it's a student of knowledge. There is no holy sanctuary of a person who speaks with jahl. Even if he's a scholar, he's a PhD. If he speaks upon ignorance, he speaks upon ignorance. So Abdul Qayyum al-Suhaybani, I believe it was the, maybe the second year of the college. He taught me, وَلِلَّهِ الْحَمْدِ, fiqh al-hadith. He taught me al-muharrar. And I benefited tremendously from his class, وَلِلَّهِ الْحَمْدِ. He gave us this book. He passed it out to us in the classroom, alhamdulillah, along with a few other books that he wrote as well. Perhaps, inshallah, in the near future, we'll have time to study this book or mention some stories from the book. It's a very beneficial, pocket-sized book talking about al-hifd, the reasons behind it, the stories behind it, so on and so forth. Naam, khairan, inshallah. The author then says, now, to give you guys a bit of tarweeh, like some like a permissible entertainment. He says, I'm going to mention a few stories with regards to this concept of strong determination and iron will to memorize and to retain information. قال عبيد بن عبد الواحد بن شريك حضرت مجلسا كثر ازدحام الناس فيه فأحسست في قفايا بحكة وحركة فلما أردت الانصراف إذا برجل يجلسني فقلت ما لك فقال اجلس فإني قد كتبت المجلس في قفاك فانتظرني حتى أقابل به. Listen to this story. He says Ubayd ibn Abdurrahman he says Ubayd ibn Abdul Wahid ibn Sharik, he says that there was a majlis, a sitting in which I sat down, a sitting of hadith. And it was so crowded. Alright, it was packed with people, students, scholars, writing, listening. He says, and when I was sitting, I felt a scratch on my neck. Alright. He says, and when I finally got up, and I wanted to walk away, there was a man who pulled me and said, sit down, come back, don't leave yet, sit down. So I said, what's wrong with you? What is the matter with you? He says, just sit down. So he then explained to himself by saying that when we're in this majlis of hadith, he says, I wrote it down on your neck. So please sit it down and let me rewrite it, let me fix it, let me make sure I have everything properly on another piece of paper or another source from that which I put on your neck and the top of your back. Allahu Akbar. The author mentions in the footnotes, Adab al-Imla wal-Istimla'i lis-Sam'ani. It's a book of As-Sam'ani called Adab al-Imla'i wal-Istimla', the etiquette of dictating and taking notes of a majlis. يقول ابن أبي عاصم لما كان من أمر العلوي بالبصرة ما كان ذهبت كتبي فلم يبق منها شيء فعدت عن ظهر قلب من 50,000 حديث كنت أمر إلى دكان البقال فكنت أكتب بضوء سراجي ثم تفكرت أني لم أستأذن صاحب السراج فذهبت إلى البحر فغسلته ثم أعدته ثانيا. Another story he mentions is of the famous Imam Ibn Abi Asim. He says that when there was fitna in Basra, there was a fitna of the Alawi in Basra, he says all of my books were taken away or they were lost. I didn't have my library. So I had nothing to write on or no notes or nothing. So I began to write down 50,000 hadiths from my heart, from my memory. 50,000. All right? And he says, وَكُنْتُ أَمُرُّ إِلَى دُكَانِ الْبَقَاءِ. I will go to the different shops, the different fishermen, the different grocers, the people that were selling things in the marketplace. They would have a dukan, a baqal. He says, so I would write down hadiths based off of their lamps, all right, their oil lamps, all right, their siraj. And then after writing, I realized, I said, whoa, wait a second, subhanAllah, I never asked permission to use their power, to use their lights. He says, so I went to the sea, I went to the coast, and I washed off the loha. I washed off the scroll or the tablet. He says, and then I rewrote it again. Allahu Akbar. He says what? He says, I rewrote it again. So just look at this wonderful story. First of all, 50,000 hadith, 50,000 hadith from his memory. Secondly, look at his piety, how righteous he was. I didn't even ask this person to use his light. How many of us today steal things, take things, abuse people, and don't have the slightest regret? We don't lose any sleep at night about what we do. And this person, he was so pious that he says, I didn't even ask permission to use his light. And then he's sitting in the market or the place, it still has the same light. It's not harming him by letting him use the light to write down. But that's his wara. That's how much wara he had. Also, is how he was determined to rewrite it from his mind after he erased it. Some of us, we lose a book, we lose a phone, we lose a phone number, we lose a contact, we go crazy. Oh, I lost my contacts. I didn't back it up on my cloud. I lost this picture. I lost this khutbah that I wrote. I lost this book that I translated. And we go crazy. If 50,000 hadith, 50,000 hadiths, That's food for thought. The author mentions in the footnotes that this is collected by Imam al-Dhahabi and Siyar Alam al-Nubala, and also shows us the effects of fitna upon ilm, and that there is an effect of politics. There is effect of war, of policy, and when there's warfare, when there's political strife, when there's this and when there's that, when there's fitna, it has an effect upon everyone, including the scholars. All right? And it shows the determination of the people of hadith, no matter what happens, no matter who's fighting, no matter what is going on, who's saying and claiming what, I'm going to continue to study and continue to learn. Khairan, inshallah. The author, he says, فهذه الحافظة القوية لم تأتي عن فراغ لكن بالعزيمة وعظيم الهمة بعد فضل الله تعالى. He says, so this type of memory here, it doesn't come overnight. It doesn't come just by sitting around and doodling and twisting your fingers. He says, but it comes with aspiration. It comes with determination after the bounty and the virtue of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the end of that chapter. The next chapter on page 35 is Kayfa Taqra. How do you read? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. We ask Him to benefit us with that which will help us and allow us to get closer to Him. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.